Hey everybody, this is Kenny with another edition of the Yak with Mac. So leaders, are you taking at least 10 minutes? Are you taking at least 10 minutes these days to develop yourself? What are you doing to develop yourself? Did you read a good article this week? Did you watch a good video? Did you listen to some podcasts? Did you listen to the Yak with Mac or watch the Yak with Mac? A lot of great stuff out there. I want to talk today, as I promised, we would start to go a little deeper. So I want you to really now look at what your leadership style is like. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation because I'm a big believer these days in 2020 and beyond, especially in some of the times that we're in right now, that your leadership style should be one that's just very flexible. I think the days of leaders having this rigid, this is my one style type approach to everything are a thing of the past now. I think that leaders have to really be able to change their style that fits their team, the team that they currently have. And that comes from getting to know your people inside and out and all the things that we've talked about over these last few weeks. People ask me that all the time. Hey, Kenny, what's your leadership style? I don't really have one. I'm going to talk about two leadership styles today that you probably fall into one or the other, but I'm also going to talk about why it's really important that you recognize which leadership style you fall into. But I really have to stress that you have to really be flexible these days. Listen, we're all going to be comfortable leaning towards one thing than we are leaning towards something else. That's okay. But as you know your people inside and out, you'll see how beneficial it is that your leadership style has a little bit of everything, that it's not just one leadership style. So I'm going to talk about two, and there's a lot of elements under the two. You probably have a little bit of both. I'll just reveal that right now. So you've heard these expressions before, the transactional leader and the transformational leader. I want to say this right up front. There's no right or wrong. Both leadership styles incorporate things that are essential to your success these days and your success with your people. So there's not really one that's better than the other. You might have a lot more of one than the other, and I'll talk about why that's important to recognize in just a bit. Let's start with the transactional leader, and I'll talk about the definition there and give you a few examples of a transactional leader. And as we talk through it, start to figure out where your leadership style falls in, if you are more dominant towards being the transactional leader. So the transactional leader focuses on results, conforms to the existing structure, and measures success on rewards and penalties, i.e. numbers. Nothing wrong with that, right? We got to make numbers every day. We certainly have to work within the existing structure. Focusing on the results, is that a bad thing? Of course it isn't. So a lot of good there. Measuring success based on rewards. Hey, we were number one last week. I'm good. We were number one last month. I'm good. That's the reward, right? That the transactional leader gets the satisfaction from. And that's nothing wrong with that. How does the transactional leader get there though, right? So I'll talk a little bit now about the pitfalls, right? Because there are some pitfalls to both transactional and transformational. On the transactional side, the focus is on results. Is the focus always on how they got those results? In some instances, it's not. Just hit your numbers, man. Just get there. Come on. I just want to know at the end of the month you got there. So that's one of the pitfalls, that if your dominant style is transactional leadership, that could possibly be one of the pitfalls, that you're not concerned with the way how. And I'm not talking about fraud or anything like that. I'm just talking about telling folks to just get the job done. We hear that way too often still these days. Hey, just get it done. Just get it done. All I want to hear is that you get it done. There can be so many factors in between, right? So that's one of the pitfalls of the transactional leader. Another pitfall of the transactional leader, again, this is just speaking in general, so there could be a lot of exceptions here, but it says that the transactional leader conforms to existing structure, to the existing structure. So is the transactional leader going to initiate change? Will the transactional leader show a lot of initiative, or will they work within that existing structure? Typically, the transactional leader will say, hey, here's what we got, here's what we're working with, let's just do it. Is that a bad thing? No, not always. Where it can be a pitfall, though, is if you work within an existing structure that could be broke, that's outdated, it could be something that should have been used years ago. The transactional leader typically is not going to be the person that initiates that change. Again, just talking in general. So transactional leader, not a bad thing at all. Actually, it's very, very good if you're a transactional leader. You certainly, we're running a business and you have to get results. Let's talk a little bit about the transformational leader. Transformational leadership is a leadership style in which leaders encourage, inspire, and motivate employees to innovate and create change that will help shape and grow the future success of the company. A lot said there. And again, if I said that with a little more enthusiasm, I didn't mean to, because both leadership styles are very, very good. They're very solid. The transformational leadership style, as you could probably tell, it leans more on the people aspect, right? So encouraging, inspiring, motivating. Can you be a transactional leader and have those traits? Absolutely. And that's your sweet spot, when you can have a little bit of both. But not all of us have a little bit of both. I know for me, even today, as much as I try to be a transactional leader as well, I lean more towards the transformational leadership that just was comfortable for me, and it still is. But you can change, you can evolve depending on who your team is. So the transformational leader encourages, inspires, and motivates and creates change. So the transformational leader will be the one that says, this system is broke, I need to change it. They'll be the one that shows that innovation, right? That takes that initiative and is innovative in specific things. So shaping and growing the future success of the company, the transformational leader tends to look ahead, pretty far ahead, right? That transformational leader is one that will say, hey, this is where I want to be 6-7 months from now. This is exactly where I want to be. We need both. I don't know. I hesitated there for a second because I don't know how else to say it. We need both. We need leaders to have a little bit of both. But here's why it's important that you recognize it. 2 reasons. One is that, I've said this before, you can't fix anybody else unless you know yourself extremely well. So know yourself extremely well. That is just vitally, vitally important. Number one. But here's the other thing. If you know that you are all in on the transformational leadership, you need to surround yourself with a few people that are really good at the transactional leadership thing, so that you start to balance yourself off. So if that's your dominant style, transformational leadership, you probably, I'm just saying, if you're a store manager, you probably need to have an associate manager that leans a little bit more towards a transactional thing, because you can't be one or the other. I knew that my style was more transformational, and so I tapped into people on my team in the district manager world that helped me with the transactional thing. I knew I had to be really, really good at that because I had to show results, right? I can encourage and inspire people all day long, but if they're not getting any results, what good is it, right? I'm just cheering people on. And you do need to be the chief encouragement officer, as I said a few weeks back. But if you recognize where your style is at, you are going to get people on your team that will start to balance you off. But you have to recognize that. I was able to recognize that in some of my store managers. So if I had a store manager that was great at driving sales, I needed to have an assistant manager that was a little bit more in the transformational leadership style, right? That was able to really encourage and inspire the people, because I had some store managers laser focused. Hey, I'm just going to get the results and that's it. The sweet spot is when you have both, when you can inspire, encourage, you can drive results every day. You know the business inside and out. You know the numbers inside and out. You know what you need to do and what it takes to get from point B to point A, to get you to that number one spot in the nation, right? You know exactly what you need to do in both slots. All right, leaders, I think that's enough for today. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to go a little bit more deeper next week. We'll talk a little bit more, I think, next week about difficult conversations, how you take these styles and now work them in your favor to have what may be some difficult conversations for you at times. And I'll share a couple of my experiences as well with that. So transactional leader, nothing wrong with that. The transactional leader focuses on results. Transformational leader, a little bit more focused on people. Actually, a lot more focused on people. Your sweet spot, leaders, for 2020 and beyond is to have a little bit of both. For now, this is Kenny with the Yak with Mac. We will talk to you next week.